Hello, hello, hello. It's your new day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Owen, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. And maybe it's yours. In our 30 minutes, we talk about your emotions and mind and how they tie into your body and spirit. We want you to renew and restore yourself in a world that wants you crazy. And sometimes we even talk about money. Introducing your hosts, Donna Reiners and Dr. Owen. Well, hello, hello, hello. This is Donna Reiners and
Dr. Owen.
And we are here to solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. Maybe it's yours. Maybe it's ours. The last 3 shows, I really kind of felt like it was just mine, honestly. But we got a little distinctive in our opinions, and it was a lot of fun. And we're still planning vacation together next year. So I just want you to know it's okay when you have a different perspective. Normally, if you really work out your perspective, you find out you're in the same space. Mm-hmm. You're just seeing from such a different angle. So something I've learned when I was religious, I saw like this. But when you open your eyes to hear, you see all the way back. And you just have eyes to see, oh, I see how that works. So we just invite you to see how something might work differently in your world, and not to shut down what you may not understand. Just put the bones aside and get ready to make some good soup later in life, right?
And the two things can exist in the same world and still be true. So, for example, I can sit here and I can truthfully and prove it in a court of law. There's not a picture in this room. There's not a picture in this room because I'm looking this way. There's not a picture. And I can argue with you. And if you were sitting from your perspective, you would go, absolutely, there's a picture in this room. What are you, crazy? You can't see the picture in this room? There is not a picture in the room. I can tell you there is not a picture in the room. I can even get her to agree with me because there's not a picture in this room. And then you are coming back. You are both crazy. There's a picture in the room. So we can both be correct because we are both correct from our perspective. There is no picture in the room when I'm looking this way. And you're looking this way, and there's absolutely a picture in the room. What it requires for both of us to go, oh, hey, and you turning around and looking the other way, and there's no picture that way, but there's a picture this way. So being willing to do this and actually turn around and look is what's required to get a full, picture of what reality is. And you might decide, I don't want to look that way all the time. It hurts my neck. And I'm going to keep looking this way. That's okay too. And I'm now aware there's a picture over here. So
that's perceptive. That's perspective.
Perspective now, and your choice of what you're going to focus on.
Mm-hmm. That's perspective. And there's something called, oh my goodness, it was just in my mind. Don't you love it? Don't you love forgetting? Only intelligent people forget what they're going to say. Perspective and perception.
Yeah.
So perception, from what I understand, is when I'm talking with Dr. Cami and we have a difference. In this case, it isn't just what I see, but is, can I understand where she's coming from? Can I understand what her mind, can I understand her experiences? Can I understand why she believes what she believes, or understands? For instance, let's say you have someone that is angry all the time, and they're specifically angry about people who get harmed or hurt in domestic violence. And you see this person, they're happily married and all these different things, but they have this anger that's so strong that they're like picking up a vendetta against all, let's say, all husbands everywhere that are harming their wives. I'm just picking something out of the air right now. I don't know anything like this. I'm just sharing with you an idea. But then you have a conversation and you get personal and you find out, oh, this person actually grew up in a situation where she watched her mother get domestically abused all the time, and she grew up being harmed all, and the daughter, she grew up being harmed all the time, and so she grew up angry and hurt. And even if she goes through all the energy healing in the world and gets all that removed, she might still have a passion to help people not experience what she experienced. That's perception. That's the understanding part.
Yes, and the perspective too.
Yeah, it is both, but one is and
yeah.
the other is
in. Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So, we open it up with that dialogue because we in this 3D bubble.
I knew
part
she'd
of the
make
bubble,
it back there.
that we're in a polarized existence. There is a positive and a negative. You can call it good, bad. I don't choose those words, but that's what it is. Positive and negative. So they all exist and they're all required at this level of consciousness. That's just how it's set up. That's the rules, if you will. I'm gonna poke that every place I get.
She's dogged to the bone.
But that's how this part of the universe works. So when you hear the different perspectives, and now it's really, really amped up. It's really amped up in society right now. You're wrong and you're right, and what I think is wrong. What I think you're wrong for what you think, and not only that, you don't have a right to think it. You don't have a right to say that out loud. I'm gonna cancel you as soon as you say something that I don't share. Then I'm canceling you. You are dead to me. You should be dead to everybody. You should be dead. There's a lot of that going on right now, and in reality, not just a concept. This is playing out in reality, and looking at that, you could start to make some of it right and wrong. Then that's another layer of polarity.
Wow.
But the polarity exists. So knowing the polarity exists, you can actually, again, the goal is to be as neutral as possible. So when you start getting pulled to one side or the other, and being all love and light all the time is polarity as well, because that's not reality either. Neutrality is reality, or the most powerful place in reality we can stand, where the vortex is going around us, and we can be pretty centered and actually see it from all those different perspectives. That they're, like somebody that says, oh, I could never murder anybody, I believe is not true. That's not a true statement for most people. Most people, if somebody's coming at them, a lot of people could, to preserve their own life, murder somebody to stay alive. Like, whether I would do that or not, in this, because I'm from Texas. I was gun carrying, toting all the time person, but I've actually really shifted on that. Whether I would actually do it or not, I don't know. I'd do it more for somebody else,
someone else, your kid or
than I
something,
would
your
for
grandkid.
me, because I would be like, okay, cool, we're going to transition right now. Okay, maybe that's a cool thing. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But to notice the polarity around you, and just notice it as it's just a perspective. It's not necessarily the truth. It doesn't have to be your truth, but it's just a perspective, and actually seeing somebody and walking in their shoes. It's funny, my son has this funny joke that, don't judge a man till you've walked a mile.
My daddy had that hanging in our house my whole life, and we still have the little plaque that hung in his apartment after Mom passed, and I think it's in my garage somewhere.
Well,
That's amazing.
But this is probably a little different than what your daddy has hanging. It's don't judge a man till you've walked a mile in his shoes, because he's a mile away and you have his shoes. So that's just the perspective as well.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Yes. My son is probably one of the funniest people on the planet, but I love his sarcasm.
Awesome.
It's nice. But anyway, so we're talking about polarity and
neutrality.
and neutrality and judgment, and we get into the judgment part. And I would say the most places in my life I have experienced judgment has been in religion. Mm-hmm. In my personal experience.
And in this case, judgment, if I want to make sure we understand, in this case, judgment is the work of condemnation.
Yes.
Condemnation means you're wrong no matter what. You need to feel bad about anything that you've done wrong. Mm-hmm. You need to feel so bad that if you don't change your mind about it, you're going to experience torment. That's the work of mm-hmm. condemnation. And from an emotional healer, that is really what I confront mm-hmm. a lot. Mm-hmm. So keep going.
Yes, and I believe there's a lot of that. a lot of the in just the mainstream, what's going on mm-hmm. in the world right now mm-hmm. is rooted in that.
It is.
And there's a lot of religion that it's rooted in.
Yes.
And so being aware of that and not making it right or wrong, just being aware of it is a big, big step, because you can stand back and look at it from over here, and actually see for yourself, what is it you're going to decide about that? What is your choice inside of that? What are you willing or unwilling to accept inside of that for yourself? And
perception,
yes. So I would have you just work up the courage for yourself to look at, where are you not seeing a picture in the room and making somebody else wrong because they believe there's a picture in the room.
And sometimes you want to make someone wrong because you just want so much to be right.
Yes.
And usually having to be right is from a place of low self-esteem, a place of insecurity, and dare I say, a place of self-hatred. Because if you're right, then you can love yourself because you performed well. Mm-hmm. And I know we're going into a different space, so I want to keep with the neutrality. I just want to share my thought on neutrality is, neutrality is actually the highest love, which I have not gotten to yet. So loving someone, like she was talking about, loving no matter what, that's still an emotion. Hating no matter what, and fearing, fear is actually the opposite of love, fearing something no matter what, that's an emotion. Mm-hmm. But the place of neutrality is, I come from a place of such love that I'm pausing and I'm breathing in and breathing out, and I'm staying neutral. And what came to my mind earlier was, most kids don't even grow up with a stick shift anymore, but I grew up with a stick shift. Mm-hmm. And there's a neutral in there where sometimes if you're driving and you flipped it in, you're coasting. Mm-hmm. Now the automatic stop, Mm-hmm. But there's a place where you coast for a moment and you consider, like she's talking about, consider. To me, that is actual love, instead of clinging to the right or mm-hmm. clinging to the wrong or clinging to the good or clinging to the bad or clinging to, don't you feel bad at what you did? Don't you feel bad at what you said? When are you going to tell me you're sorry? Mm-hmm. I think you need to tell me you're sorry. When actually, if you change your mind about your need for them to be sorry, mm-hmm. which is more of a place of neutrality, that would be demonstrating, listen, I love you, and I'm going to give you not just the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going to release myself from the pain and the work and the energy that it takes for me to just be so riled up about mm-hmm. your opinion mm-hmm. or even my own opinion. Mm-hmm. To me, that's love, because love is peace. What are your thoughts in that?
Well, I think
love's not an emotion to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, and what you said, I agree with. And I will put an and is there's also in neutrality boundaries about where your space is and what you will let in your space. So you can mm-hmm. love the abuser we talked about, mm-hmm. and you can see I'm sure if you go back into that abuser's life, there was reasons, because when he came out, a little mm-hmm. baby that was complete, whole, and perfect, and it started chipping away at that. Somebody started chipping away at that, where they stopped believing they're complete, whole, and perfect.
Or they chipped away from the womb.
Yes, true. But that does not excuse the behavior. So I want to make that distinction that does not excuse the behavior. You can say I love somebody and walk them and put a knife in them, and that doesn't excuse that behavior. So
no, that's really good.
Setting boundaries.
I know a situation like that, actually.
Yeah, setting boundaries in your world, in the neutral world, that it's okay for you to be. I had a friend that I might have talked about this before, but I had this friend that a lot of people could not be with her. She was just a lot.
Toxic.
Toxic, but she was a lot too. And she was so wounded. She was absolutely so wounded, and I could see that in her, so I could be with her so easily because I could just see it.
My niece was like that. I love it. Yeah.
It didn't.
It was easy to love, even though they were a lot.
Yeah. But it got to a place, and I knew, some part of me knew that at some point she'd blow our relationship up too, as well, because I have pretty strong boundaries about, how you can treat me. So when it went there, I was like, oh, okay, here it
Here's
is.
the end.
This is the day, that I have to love her from afar, that she can't be in my field anymore, my space, because I love me enough. And I love the people around me enough to not have that be in my space. And I can still love her, and I still think about her, and I still wish her, and I send her love all the time. And I would argue that probably she heard my name, she'd be, and it's, I get it, because that's
her perspective.
That's where she's at, and that's her perspective, and everybody's against her, and if you're not with her, you're against her. Which is, none of that was true for me. None of that was true for me. And I think if she was uncharged, if she moved into the neutral, because she's over here in the negative all the time. If she was in the neutral, she'd be able to see, wow, that was an enriching relationship we had, and being way on this side blew it up. So that's what I would say is look at where you're being what I call a right fighter. You're right no matter what. And I was this way in my life. In my younger days.
You would have had to be growing up in a religious home.
I did.
Because it was right or wrong, good or bad, life or death, no in between, cursed or blessed.
Absolutely. So I was very much that, and the more insecure I felt about myself, the more right I was and stuff. And it was interesting. Even my husband, he can tell when I'm, having.
And y'all been married how long?
30-something years.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm terrible with dates.
Yeah, but that's a long. That's
a long time. We've been together almost 40 years. We'll be celebrating our 36th anniversary this year. But having when I'm oscillating over here or over here, and I'm not in the middle, he can see right away, because of my speaking, and I get really right about things, and I get really righteous about things, and I just know, and blah, blah,
you mean like the 15 dimensions?
No, that's real.
I'm just kidding.
That's true. That's true. No, the difference between that
No, stay with it. You'll forget where you're going.
I think this is relevant. like that little banter, I did not get activated, or I didn't feel angry or anything.
I didn't either.
So that's the difference. That's what we're talking about. Because I'm neutral about it. I don't have a dog in the fight.
Dog in the fight,
that's a Texas term for those folks that are not in Texas. But I don't have a dog. It's just true for me. It didn't have to be true for her. It didn't have to be true for you. It's true for me. And so when you ask me my opinion, I'm going to say what's true for me, and you can take it or not take it. And I'm not offended either way.
Pastor Darren would say, just leave me in my delusion.
Yes. Yes, I swim in it. I love it. It's where I live. It's good. It's like dive right in. The water is nice and comfortable.
Warm,
It's good. So that would be the neutrality in that situation of not being activated by, do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Do I require you to agree with me, or something's really wrong here? Now, it would be the same in a marriage, being activated. Like there are agreements, and I would say I operate in agreements. We have agreements, and sometimes we operate in one-sided agreements. which are called expectations. Okay, so you have this agreement that you've decided this is how things are supposed to be, and now you expect that this is supposed to be, and the person that you're expecting that from has never agreed to that. So now you have expectations or a future resentment is what they are, and so having agreements about life, that I'm okay with. I operate with very little expectations with people and how things go, because typically when I was in the expectation world, what showed up was much smaller than when I just left it open to a benevolent outcome. And it was always so much bigger than I ever thought it could be. So
that's what Bob Phillips would do. He would say, instead of having an expectation which is defined and specific, how about just having an expectancy and just seeing what evolves?
Yes, that's something. And when I pray for something, I will pray for the most benevolent outcome. That's how I.
For just you or for everybody?
Everybody.
Yeah.
In the whole, in all of that, it is. And it's and then I just get to watch, like,
let's see what happens.
This is cool, because when you have an expectation, like you're expecting, okay, I asked for this thing and it's supposed to look a certain way. I see that a lot in my clinic in healing, and how healing is supposed to happen or not supposed to happen. And I have very little expectations on that, because first of all, I'm not the sole participant in this
correct
this thing, and I'm a coach you through it, but I'm not expecting a certain thing. And sometimes we have patients that come in with a serious illness, and they end up leaving the planet. And people say, oh, see, that didn't work. Right. I don't know, did it or did it not? And seeing, okay, this happened, this happened, this got healed, that might have been what was required.
Right.
And I don't know what that was or what that wasn't, because it's not my business, because it's their business.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help facilitate their
what
business.
They want.
Their business.
Yeah.
So, the expectations and being defined and so literal about expectations are part of that polarity. You expect, because you're right about it, and you know this is what it is, and this is, I want a new house, and I want this house, and I want it to be here, and I want, and there's a 4 times bigger house that's going to be better for you, and somebody's going to give it to you, and it's not going to have any mortgage on it and everything over here, but you're still looking at this house, and they can't. But it's over just here. Go over here. Yeah. Just do this, and there it is. But you are so focused that you
dogmatic.
You won't do it.
Right.
So polarity exists, and your job and your directive and your assignment, if you choose to accept it, is neutrality. And with neutrality, then you can go vertical, which is,
I love it, which is the alignment, I think, for all of us.
Being in alignment.
And would that not be for those of us? So if the highest consciousness lives within, and that we have access to all that we are, to all that we're to become, to the highest and truest self, which to me is the space of complete unconditional love, complete unconditional forgiveness, not just for yourself, but for the planet. And there are many people that say, oh, I forgive, with their mouth. But the fruit of their own life is negativity, it's unbelief, it's a bent toward being unkind with intention. And that's not this alignment. That's the alignment that's confused and toxic and doesn't know where he or she's going and what she's doing. The polarity, yes, that's what she's saying. So alignment to me is this alignment with the divine, who is love. And how much time do we have left?
Wow,
I
that
would
went by
like to, I would
fast.
like to bring something up, but we'll bring it up in the next show. So I want to talk a little bit about biblical alignment, but it isn't biblical alignment. Listen, the Bible was written for people that were alive then, in conversations that were to people that were alive then, for assignments that were to people that were alive then, even if it was a few hundred years down the road. But those things are not necessarily applicable to those of us who are alive now. Because I'm having a conversation with Dr. Cameron, having a conversation with you, but I'm not having a conversation with your children 2,000 years down the road. I'm just saying something to think about as we provoke you to thought. Because we're here to solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one. And today, maybe just yours. And we bless you and we appreciate you. And we're so glad you visit with us and so glad you have time with us. And I'm so glad that you're willing to be personal and we share our lives. She's talked a little bit about her husband. I guess I need to talk about mine sometimes. You know, we need to have a little bit of chit chat going on. So we'll get to that sometimes. I may share a little bit about my sisters and that kind of thing. So we love to go personal. We like to go vertical. We like to go horizontal. And we like to go personal. And we're just glad we can do that with you on a regular basis. And we pray that you'll come visit us every week and experience grace, which to me is unconditional forgiveness and unconditional love, because you're on a discovery tour to discover who you are and why you're on the planet, right? That's what I think anyway. And so we bless you and thank you for coming. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining Your New Day with Donna Reiners and Dr. Cammie Owen. We look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it's yours. Until soon.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm Donna Reiners, and this is
Dr. Cammie Owen.
Woo! And we have a show called Your New Day on the Grace Awakening Network, where we solve all the world's problems, or maybe just one, and maybe it'll be yours. And sometimes it's ours, to be quite frank. We invite you. It is on Roku at 10:30 a.m. on Wednesdays. We look forward to seeing you there. Bye-bye.